Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Podium Esports coverage of Round 5 of Series 5 of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series. Live tonight from Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. James Pike, the voice of Podium Esports, alongside Taylor Burris, and our producer, as always, Ryan Bauer, powered by Top Flight Computers. And Taylor, starts tonight are big and bright in the heart of Texas indeed, and a home race for so many different members of the PCA and in PCA sim racing. I think that's one of the largest overarching themes we'll see this evening, is that both the Maverick and the Lone Star chapters, and even the home chapter, the Hill Country chapter, have tremendous involvement in PCA sim racing. So for them tonight, this is home turf.
It is home turf, but probably this is going to be the most difficult track that the PCA will have come to here this season. I mean, we're talking about one of the most state-of-the-art circuits on the iRacing service and in the United States as far as road course is concerned. This is a very technical, a very different elevations of changes. I mean, shoot, turn one will be probably the most exciting corner to watch here tonight when they're coming up on their first run at full speed. We're bound to see incidents. We are bound to see cars going off course, and it would not be surprising if cars are ending up being disqualified due to too many on-track incidents, off-tracks, or causing damage to the race cars here tonight. So it's going to be exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm hoping you're looking forward to 4 classes of cars competing here tonight over the next several hours. And there he is.
And to learn a little bit more about Circuit of the Americas, we'll turn it over to PCA Sim Racing Series 4 Pro Class champion out of the Northern New Jersey region, Michael Polasek, who will walk us through a lap around Circuit of the Americas.
Hello everyone, this is Michael Polasek, and this is a quick hot lap of Circuit of the Americas in the Porsche Cayman GT4. So coming down to the final corner now, so get stopped nice and early, trail brake to the apex, and get smooth on the power to get down this front straight as quickly as possible. This front straight is going to play home to a host of overtaking maneuvers into turn 1, which is this challenging, very tight hairpin. So what you want to do is you want to trail brake all the way to the apex, hope that the ABS won't get too much in your way, and once you're past the apex, you want to get as hard on the power as possible using that rearward weight distribution to do just that. Then we go around this flat-out right-hander before entering the S's, which requires the driver to do a bunch of different driving techniques, from trail braking to the throttle steering to make it through this very challenging series of corners. You also got to be mindful of those sausage curves on the inside, so you won't get away with cutting too much. Then we're heading to the final set of S's, and for this right-hander, stay as close to the inside as possible, making sure that you don't go too far, otherwise you'll get an off-track and invalidate your lap. The same thing goes to the corner exit. Just stay as close to the left side as possible, and straighten the wheel as soon as possible, and get hard on the power to get down the short straight to get ready for this second hairpin. Like the first, you want to trail brake all the way to the apex, and then use that rearward weight distribution to your advantage to get hard on the power as fast as possible once again. Now going down this back straight, you want to be ready for a 90-degree left-hander coming up, which is also a very good overtaking spot. And both lines can work here. You can either sacrifice the entry to try and get a better exit, or you can try and cover off the inside to stop your opponent from overtaking, but they might get you on the exit. So, like all the hairpins, it's just a simple trail brake, then get hard on the power once again. Same thing through here. You are going to be turning and accelerating here, and the pavement there is pretty low grip, so you want to be very careful with your throttle input, otherwise you might get wheel spin and you'll lose a lot of time. Coming through the final hairpin now, get smooth on the power, and now we're heading up towards this long triple apex right-hander. You want to hit the first 2, and then the third apex is super, super light. Throttle steer the car around, hoping that you don't get too much rear slip. Then we're coming through the final 2 corners, so trail brake to the apex, and smoothly track out, watch the wheel spin, don't get too loose there, otherwise you'll lose too much time. And coming through the final corner now, brake nice and early, get to the apex, and then smoothly roll on the power, and you are across the line.
Thanks to Michael Polasek for helping get us around Road America. You have an idea of what an ideal lap around this place is like in the Porsche Cayman GT4, but ideal laps tend to be a bit of an anomaly, bit of a rarity here, especially since curves and off tracks are so incredibly common at Circuit of the Americas. You're going to see drivers hit incident point limits this evening, and it's really, really easy because the curves are really big here, and especially with the way the first half of the lap is set up, this track is designed so that you try and take advantage of every last curve that is either there or not there. But we'll see some people probably get airborne over the turtles, and might see a little bit of fun entering the S's too, especially on that first lap, Taylor.
It certainly is. We'll probably see some cars going side by side through the S's on that first lap. It's going to be exciting. And who knows, maybe we might even see some cars end up with the Podium Esports Space program. I mean, this is, of course, Podium, but we'll probably see some very interesting incidents that will happen throughout the night here. But COTA just provides such a different challenge for these drivers, especially for this rookie class here. It's going to be very interesting how they can be able to take to the curbs as well as take to each corner and attack it at the right possible time, especially since they're going to be the shortest race, 30 minutes. So one small mistake here could cost you valuable time and valuable positions throughout the race. So we're going to be keeping an eye on seeing some drivers right now who just completed their qualifying time. And looking at it right now, Daniel Rubel is currently at the top of the leaderboard with a 2:18.468. So he's looking to be about over a second faster than everybody else right now on the circuit.
This is a track that all of the drivers who have run prior PCA series will be familiar with. This is one of the handful of circuits that has been on the calendar in every PCA series since the beginning of PCA sim racing last March. So it won't be a surprise, especially to our drivers in the club and the pro classes who have been around here a time or two. But for these challenge drivers, this is a different beast altogether, and we'll see how they tackle it, especially going up into turn one, where the track actually widens and then narrows at the apex, and it gets very intriguing once you get through the middle of that corner, and then they sweep their way down into the hills to the S's that Michael talked about so much, and then that long bomber back straight before you hit the stadium section modeled after Hockenheim, and then the gigantic roundabout that covers turns, call it 17 and 18, designed after turn 8 at Istanbul Park, which is back on the Formula One calendar this year, incidentally enough, Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, this track has been designed to be a challenge even for the world-class drivers of Formula One. And now these Porsche drivers who are out there on the circuit here tonight from the PCA Sim Racing Series are going to be taking to a track that is meant to challenge some of the world's greatest drivers in the world. And this is going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting to see how they're able to manage their pace and their time around each other for these 30 minutes, as well as 40 minutes when we get into the higher classes later tonight. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be keeping an eye on drivers such as Ian Simon, along with Daniel Rubel, as well as Justin Marino. Those three drivers have been quite some major competitors throughout the series. Will they be able to put a good run here tonight? We'll find out in about 30 minutes.
You make a good point. We'll take a look at the point standings very briefly, where Ian Simon comes into tonight's race with a 30-point lead over Matt D'Alosa, who has had nothing but bad luck, it seems, these last two races. Has gotten into trouble. He went off at Barber Motorsports Park and then spun on the first turn from the pole when we were tackling Road Atlanta last week. So D'Alosa, I think, just wants a golden horseshoe more than anything else, but it's Simon, D'Alosa, and then Ked Tubman and John Crook. Those four are the only four to clear the 900-point barrier. Crook has scored the most points without winning a race. Tubman has the one win at Motorsport, and Simon's got the 3 at Laguna Seca, and then Barber and Road Atlanta. So chasing the 87 in the points, but Rubel is the man with the fastest qualifying time as it stands at 2:17.917. Also, note from race control, to expand upon what we said a few moments ago, if any driver clears the 31 incident point level, iRacing will automatically disqualify that driver and remove them from the server. So if drivers go above 31 points, they will be done for the evening, as we we'll turn to the starting grid and get ready to tell you who starts where in this first race of the evening. Taylor Burris at 30 minutes here at COTA with the greenest of classes. I think this race in turn then means that we have the most room for surprises and variables, because not everyone knows this track as well as we would with say the club class or the pro class, but it's something we'll find out in a little bit. We'll come back to that after we give you starting grid, where Daniel Rubel has that 2:17.917, launching him into the top spot on the grid. Ian Simon, your points leader, starts second. Brian Giannelli begins tonight from the third position. Fourth is the 8 car of Justin Rado. Chris Soborowski begins this evening from P5. P6 is where you'll find John Crook. Ken Tubman starts from 7th. 8th is where you'll find Aaron Ambrosino. 9th, the 20 of Trick Starkey. And the 28 of Jose Rivas begins tonight from 10th.
Sitting in the 11th position will be Ken Nielsen, followed by Robert Rose in 12th. David Trinder will be starting from the 13th position, followed by Chris Pippin in 14th. Jason Sherwood starting from the 15th in the 99 Porsche, followed by Scott Ferris starting 16th. Starting in the 17th position will be Robert Benson, followed by Scott McSherry in 18th. 19th will go to Alan Kirby, and Abraham Jones will round out your top 20.
21st on the grid this evening belongs to Anchor Bergson. Richard Day begins tonight from 22nd. 23rd will be Andrew McCune, and Olan Murphy starts from 24th. 25th will be Andrew Hillman. Mark Granoff begins tonight from 26th. And 27th. Final car on the grid is the 18 machine of John Bradley. As they begin to roll off, we'll tell you a little bit more about this track. This is Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Technically, we are just outside the city in unincorporated Travis County, but it's Austin for all intents and purposes. We run the full course tonight at COTA. It's a 3.426 mile, 5.513 kilometer track, a long one of the longest in all of iRacing. 20 turns here at Road America. We race at sunrise. Local time in sim is just before 8 a.m. Central Time on the default day for iRacing, May 15th, 2020. 66 degrees Fahrenheit air temp, 67 degrees Fahrenheit track temp, winds to the southwest at 5 miles an hour, and humidity of 59%. Remind you before we go green flag racing that the Challenge Class race Appreciation Racing this evening is brought to you by Hagerty. Since 1984, Hagerty has been the worldwide leader in collector car insurance. Everything they do is geared toward enabling and enhancing the experience of automotive enthusiasts and making sure that the vehicles we all love and the lifestyles that revolve around them don't just survive, but thrive well into the future. Services include the Hagerty Drivers Club, Drive Share by Hagerty, The Shop, and much, much more to fuel car culture. Hagerty, let's drive together. Should be in for a fun one, and you've got the two-team Hagerty drivers starting not too far away from one another. Giannelli and Marino have that second row on the grid, but it is Daniel Rubel and Ian Simon who will lead us to our first green flag of the evening. Rubel will wait and wait and wait and wait a little bit more all the way to the line. Now the green flag is out, and we are underway at Circuit of the Americas with the Challenge Class race. Round 5 of Series 5 of PCA Sim Racing is underway, and now up the hill towards that tricky, treacherous turn 1 with a fan out 3 and 4 wide in the corner, and I think well, not quite, a few cars around here, so that'll separate the field, and about the top 5 were able to get away, or 6, and Rubel will lead Simon and Giannelli, and then Moreno and Soborowski through the S's for the first time. A few more incidents as one of the Team Hagerty cars goes around in the SCs. Looks like that, I believe, was Brian Giannelli, who just lost it off the curb. He got sideways and it just didn't land correctly. So Giannelli goes around and he slides all the way back to 17th as Daniel Rubel now being chased by Ian Simon for the race lead off into the hairpin at the far end, the north end of the course, Taylor.
He is right there on top of him as they come out of the hairpin and down one of the longest straightaways here. The back half of the course, Ian Simon utilizing the slipstream to help pull him closer to Daniel Rubel as they approach the braking zone to head towards inside the arena section of the circuit at Circuit of the Americas. Meanwhile, about another 3 seconds back, you're going to find Chris Zaborowski, who has basically just lost that time after we saw the incident that happened back a little bit on through the S's of Brian Giannelli.
Yep, big incident for Giannelli, who lost it on his own. It was his own mistake. Didn't have any help from anyone else on the racetrack. Just caught the curves wrong, and I think it goes back to the whole incident point issue and the curb issue that we talked about over the course of pre-race, Taylor, that it's so easy to attack these curves too quickly and too hard and get yourself in trouble, and that's exactly what happened to Giannelli on that first lap through the S's.
It certainly did. He's now having to work his way up to the field. He's actually in more trouble right now with the 71 of Robert Benson, both of them making hard contact together as we see Benson is slowing down, allowing Brian to move away and move him back up into 13th. But Giannelli had a lot of work to do here tonight as he was starting inside the top 5 at the start of this race.
He started in 3rd. He currently runs in 13th after falling back as far as 17th after that opening spin. So there are a few ways to look at it. You lose all that track position you started with, but he's also managed to gain 4 spots since he spun around. So if you needed a rebound charge, not a bad way to start. We can add a little bit more to that as Giannelli will come up to 11th as it looks like Ken Tubman is down pit road for service.
As he is right now, that number 27 Porsche has come down to his pit box. We'll see if he has any service required. We shouldn't be really seeing these drivers come down pit road for fuel, especially this early on in the race, but we could see some strategy of drivers trying to get repairs done so that way they can continue on with their race here tonight.
In Ken Tubman's case, it was an incident on the opening lap. He got black flag for causing the melee in turn 1. Race control pinned it on him. He did make contact with John Crook in the 61 machine coming out of turn 1 on that opening lap. He was one of the 2 cars that went around along with Aaron Ambrosino in the 9, and that's what stacked everyone up and pretty much roadblocked everyone outside of the top 5 coming into the S's the first time around. That's what split this field up so much. That's why Rubel and Simon have almost 7 seconds on Justin Moreno, who's back in 3rd.
And actually, a little bit of an incident that happened a few moments ago. Chris Zaborowski, he was sitting inside the top 3, actually lost control of his race car as they were coming up out of the S's, making the climb up towards that hairpin, and lost control of his car. He drops all the way back to 7th place behind David Trinder in the 103. They're now approaching the entrance of the arena section of the course, and he is trying to gain back that lost time, but still. Meanwhile, up at the front, it is Daniel Rubel, your race leader, 1.3 seconds ahead of Ian Simon as they go through the second half of the arena section.
Rubel, your leader, Simon in 2nd, Moreno to 3rd for Team Haggerty. Robert Rose with a 4.43, now riding in the 4th position, just ahead of Trip Starkey. Interesting one there. Robert Rose is a name that we've not had the chance to call all that much this season, but we'll go ahead and call it now. Comes from the Shenandoah region of the PCA, which covers the Shenandoah Valley in the Commonwealth of Virginia and the home of the University of Virginia Cavaliers, the, I suppose, still defending champions of American collegiate men's basketball. So if Wahoo Wah is your thing, I guess you Rob, maybe? Does that work, Taylor?
I think so. That might be working a little bit. I'm not a Virginia fan. I'm more of the famous Tar Heels when it comes to college basketball.
One of the better rivalries, to be fair, Virginia and Carolina. There's a lot of love between them, right?
Of course. Well, if you think about it, there's nothing really of a bigger rivalry than Carolina versus Duke. Now that is a rivalry you cannot mess around with.
Right. I won't disagree with that, but we'll spare the basketball talk for later and keep our eyes on what is actually a pretty good battle for 4th and 5th, because Trip Starkey continues to hang off the rear deck lid of Robert Rose, and Rose has not been able to shake the 20 car.
And if you think about it, with this run that Robert Rose is having right now, even though he is still battling for this 4th position with the 20 of Trip Starkey, it's a great points night for him. Currently looking at the point standing, he is not even in the top 20 in this class, in the rookie class. So if he's able to maintain this top 5 run, or even just a top 10 run, that's going to be a good points night for him to move him up through the standings as we are now at the halfway point of the season.
We are in the second half of the season for PCA Sim Racing, and we'll keep our eyes peeled and see how things shake out as these drivers continue to work their way around. I was about to say Jose Rivas had made a good charge after sliding back in the very beginning, but he's back down to the 25th position, just sort of looking through the field to keep our eye on the good battles. We mentioned Rose and Starkey. David Trinder and Chris Siborowski, I think, constitute a pretty good one as they work their way through the stadium section. Siborowski trying to gain that ground that he lost, but he lost it through the S's, and Trinder's not going to put up a major fight, knowing the pace that Siborowski has. So the 7.75 now goes to 6th, Trinder to 7th, and then look who's in the 8th position. Taylor Burris, the one, the only Brian Gianelli that had all that trouble on the first lap. Talk about recovery drives. He's done a pretty nice job of climbing his way back towards the front.
He certainly has, and I'm looking at his lap times right now, and he's running very good, consistent lap times. In fact, his last lap was a 2:23.45. That was his best lap of the race so far. So he's running quite much faster than everyone who's currently behind him. But now he's starting to get into the group of drivers who are a little bit faster than him right now. He's about 2 seconds off the pace of the 103 of David Trinder as they come across the line. Nope, he actually beats him by 4 seconds this time around. So he is definitely going to put the hammer down and try to get up to David Trinder and Chris Siborowski as they approach turn 1.
Gianelli was the 3rd fastest man on track that last time by. He was 2/10 faster than Justin Moreno, who rides in 3rd, but more importantly, 4 seconds faster than David Trinder, who rides ahead of him. So Gianelli should make quick work of Trinder. And if we're looking at gaps to pay attention to, Moreno is about 12 seconds ahead of the 17 machine. And Rose and everyone sort of filtering in back between that gap. So Gianelli, I think, has a genuine chance to race his way at least back up to 3rd. Beyond that, we'll see. But no denying the 17 has pace.
He certainly does, as he is actually just eating up that time between him and David Trinder, as he is going to probably take a pass when they go into this hairpin right here. Let's keep an eye on this battle now. He'll look to the inside. Will Trinder give him space? No, he's going to break a little bit higher apart. As they go down to the apex, you see almost make contact, so not quite there through that apex. We'll have to see on the back straightaway. Will Gianelli make the pass on David Trinder, moving up to P7?
While we have a moment here, we'll remind you that tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing is brought to you by Virtual Racing School. All drivers in PCA Sim Racing Series 5 have the option to run setups provided by VRS. And for more information about how you can become a faster driver in sim racing, turn your attention and bring your computer to www.virtualracingschool.com for more information. Gianelli now all over David Trinder. This will be a charge we'll keep our eyes on throughout the 30-minute race that we have here for the challenge class. But Gianelli undeniably has pace. Good stuff between Scott McSherry and Scott Ferris just behind them. So battle with the Scots looking solid. A good group from 12th on back to 15th. Mark Granoff, Alan Kirby, Chris Pippen, and Aaron Ambrosino in a good battle too, Taylor.
Yeah, but these cars are pretty much going single file right now through the stadium section as they are approaching the final couple of corners here. You'll notice right in front of Ambrosino, you see Mark Granoff trying to hold off a hard-charging 21 Porsche of Alan Kirby as they approach turn number 20. You notice Kirby tried to take a peek, but couldn't quite get close enough. He might try to get it off corner exit. Gains a little bit of ground as they make the run up to turn 1.
Granoff is one of the Lone Star drivers tonight, so this is a home race for him. A Lone Star region covering Houston and southeastern Texas College Station, also in that ballpark. Alan Kirby, who's right behind him, comes from the North Country region of the PCA, which covers the Granite State, New Hampshire. So if you like New Hampshire Motor Speedway and lobster and Fisher Cats, perhaps Alan Kirby is your driver to watch, Taylor.
It certainly is, and he's putting on a great show from a driver from the North Country here in the deep heart of Texas right here as they're working their way through the S's coming up. Now you see Kirby is starting to pull a little bit back from Mark Granoff, and Chris Pippen is starting to get into this picture.
I was hoping that you would have bid on the minor league baseball reference I made, but we'll let it slide, I suppose.
So I'm guessing that's strike one for me.
Well played. Well played. Good job. Good job. I give you a cookie. So.
Thank you.
Big move there. Wow. Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa. Whoa. Look at that. Look at Kirby and Pippin. There were about 3 different people that tried to go full send into that hairpin at the north end of the circuit. If we're looking for a number on that turn, that's turn 11. But they went full send, and Chris Pippin was able to get to the inside of Alan Kirby, and instead of Granoff and Kirby, it's now Granoff and Pippin that we're watching. And that's a byproduct of the hairpins here, as Kirby got a shot from Aaron Ambrosino and went to the inside, but Granoff went wide in the section, so all of a sudden Chris Pippin is now the first car of these 4s. Ambrosino goes full send underneath Alan Kirby, and then Granoff checks up and runs right into the back of the 21 machine. So a very calamitous few corners there, but ultimately Chris Pippin comes out on top.
He certainly has, and he is actually caught up to the back bumper of the 027 of Scott Ferris, so he could possibly break into the top 10 here before he completes this lap. But one thing I noticed with Chris Pippin, that driver has no rear view mirrors all on the side of his race car, so he is kind of driving a little bit blind and has to be careful of where he places his car, as the 027 of Scott Ferris has received a penalty for an incident on track.
He went straight through that turn entering the stadium section and just didn't really get on the brakes. He came in very hot and got right into the rear bumper of Scott McSherry in the 23. So McSherry went around, and then Granoff struggled to make the corner, and that I think may have set off that chain of events that we saw in the stadium section. But Ferris has come down pit road to serve the penalty for that incident, and McSherry holds the last spot in the top 10 ahead of Chris Pippin, who is now the first man of that group that we saw. And what was maybe within a second or two of one another, that group has now spread themselves out over about 5 or 6 seconds, and Granoff is in further trouble in the S's. He's gone sideways, coming down the hill, actually just out of turn 1, entering the S's. So
yeah,
Granoff in trouble, and drivers continuing to go sideways. We did say this was a difficult track to get around, Taylor.
It's probably the most difficult circuit that these drivers will face this season, and just because of so many technical corners that this track has to offer. I mean, you thought tracks such as Road Atlanta or Barber Motorsports Park were a roller coaster. This track is the next level of a roller coaster here for these drivers. As I caught Abraham Jones going sideways coming off corner exit, as he is now approaching the hairpin on the back half of the course.
Road America isn't necessarily an elevation-changing roller coaster the same way that Road Atlanta is, outside of turn 1, of course. But Road America, I think, just punishes you with so many tight turns. That, to me, is the big thing, that there are not a lot of easy corners to get around outside of the turn 8 replica, the turn 17-18 complex here. And even then, you're still maybe holding throttle. It's not necessarily a full throttle corner for any car that doesn't have a significant degree of downforce. IndyCar is about the only thing I'm seeing get through there and not have to worry about slowing up, because there's so much downforce coming off those wings, it makes it easier to get through that corner. And even the S's here too, you think you can run those pretty quickly, but those S's are also an exercise in riding the throttle and making sure that you don't end up in trouble.
Yeah, a lot of throttle control has to come into play here at Circuit of the Americas with these Porsche GT4s. So it's going to be interesting to see throughout the night how these drivers, we'll probably see it well played for drivers in the Pro and Club class. But for these first 2 classes here, our Rookie and Challenge classes, this is where we're going to see a lot of the drivers of seeing how well they have been able to take to the classes and training from the PCA's series, where how they're able to manage that throttle input here at Circuit of the Americas.
We have crossed the halfway point of this first race of the evening, and that means it's time to bring you our first midway race break, which for the challenge class is brought to you by Haggerty. Haggerty, let's drive together. Daniel Rubel in the 10 machine has led from the drop of the green flag, and he is your race leader after 7-ish laps completed. He'll come to complete 7 this time. Ian Simon rides in the 2nd spot on the racetrack out of the Mardi Gras region surrounding New Orleans. The 3rd driver in our field is the 8 car. our highest running Team Haggerty driver, Justin Moreno. Fourth place belongs to the number 20 machine out of the Rocky Mountain region. That's Trip Starkey that you see on your screen. And he is fighting off the 775 directly behind him from San Diego. That's Chris Siborowski putting together a really solid run in that tan Porsche Cayman. The sixth spot goes to Robert Rose, we talked about a little bit earlier. And seventh in this race is where you'll find another region run seventh. Eighth belongs to the number 103 car. Another one of our Metropolitan New York drivers, David Trinder. They'll have a home race next week at Watkins Glen. Ninth belongs to the 42 machine. Ken Nielsen out of the Pacific Northwest region, which covers the Seattle and Tacoma areas. And then P10 belongs to Chris Pippin, that red car out of Kansas City.
Currently sitting in the 11th position from the Eastern Buckeye region, Scott McSherry doing a great job of working his way through the field right now. But about a couple of tenths back, you will find, as we see that pass, that is Aaron Ambrosino. He's sitting 13th in points right now from the Hudson Champlain region. In the 13th position, you will find the 21 of Alan Kirby. He's been having a great night so far. Had a little bit of issues early, but has been able to work his way up through the field. In 14th, you will find the 61 of John Croak working his way up to the field as he was inside the top 20 at the start of the race. In the 996, in 15th, you will find Abraham Jones. We just saw him get a little bit loose but the Allegheny region driver is doing a great job tonight, sitting 15th in overall in class and 15th in the points. Mark Granoff in the 172. We just saw him a little bit ago. He is one of our highest Lone Star Regions drivers out there at the race here at Circuit of the Americas. He's currently sitting in 16th. In the 17th position, about 3/10 back, you will find the 99 of Jason Sherwood, who's been having a solid night in 17th position. Go a little further back, about 9/10 of a second, you'll find the 11 of Andrew Hillman in 18th position as he's trying to catch up, as he will try to get around, actually, Mark Randolph. In 19th, you'll find the Ken Tubman from the Lone Star region. He's sitting third in points, not having a good night so far, though, as he is struggling to keep up with the field in 19th. Rounding out your top 20 is the 71 of Robert Benson, as Mark Granoff has gone.
21st in this race is the 248 of the Northeast region. That's Anchor Bergsong. The 22nd position belongs to the 999 of Olin Murphy. Scott Ferris, after his penalty, is right behind Murphy in 23rd, 24th. So we'll find the 028, that's Jose Rivas. Andrew McCune rides in the 25th position tonight. He's out of the Rocky Mountain region, which covers Denver and Cheyenne, amongst other places. 26th, and the last car on track is the 25 of Richard Day, another Lone Star region driver. John Bradley is off track. He has scored in 27th. And that concludes our midway race break, which is brought to you by Haggerty. Haggerty, let's drive together. We'll also remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by the Z1 Dashboard. The Z1 Dashboard is the racing analytics application. The Z1 Dashboard shows everything you'll need to know about your position on track, your competitors' positions, where you'll be after pit stops. The Z1 Dashboard can also tell you where your competition is, when you should pit, how much fuel you should take, what the weather is like. You can assign up to 10 different dashboards to each car and switch between them with a click of a button. So the required information you need is always at your fingertips. To find out more about the Z1 Dashboard, please visit www.z1dashboard.com. Z1 Dashboard, as per usual, is offering another free software package to one PCA Sim Racing EDE student every Friday night. And tonight's lucky winner out of the Northern New Jersey region in the challenge class is Dean Chapman. PCA Sim Racing's EDE program provides free sim racing coaching from novices turning their first lap on the track to the most seasoned professionals. Sign up for the EDE program today at pcasimracing.com/EDE, and you may be the next winner of the Z1 Dashboard Sim Racing software package. We are very spaced out amongst the top four. Daniel Rubel has a 4-second lead on Ian Simon. Justin Moreno is almost 30 seconds back of those two. Trip Starkey, Chris Siborowski, they had the first proper battle on the racetrack, so we'll head back to P4. We'll see Starkey and Siborowski tackle the stadium section here at COTA, Taylor.
They are certainly going at it once again. Chris Zaborowski has been all over the back bumper of the 20 of Trip Starkey as they're coming through the second half of the stadium section. As we'll get to that tight hairpin, will we see Chris Zaborowski make an attempt to the inside? No. We see Starkey block that inside lane for him to make the move as they come up to the back half of the stadium section, approaching the final few corners. This long sweeping corner is a good opportunity to build momentum to help make a pass to either the inside or outside of this next corner right here, turn 19. As they approach the corner, you see Zaborowski try to take a higher arc into that corner before setting up for turn 20. As you see, Zaborowski gains a little ground but has to back off. Couldn't quite get to the inside just yet of Trip Starkey.
You figure that he may have tried to pull it off in turn 20 right at the end of the lap, but the more likely scenario now is that he may have a big dive up at the top of the hill going into turn 1. So we'll keep our eyes on where this 775 goes, and indeed, he'll look and he'll see if he can force Trip Starkey wide, which is exactly what happened. And Zaborowski uses a little bit of intimidation to get Starkey out of the way. Didn't even have to touch him, just got in his rearview mirror, and Starkey made the mistake and allowed Zaborowski to go right on through for fourth.
A great pass indeed for Zaborowski. He had about 3.5 seconds, though, to gain to Justin Marino to get into the podium position here for tonight's race. He's got about 2-3 laps to do that, so we'll have to keep an eye and see what the Haggerty driver can do as we close in for the night.
Speaking of Haggerty drivers, Brian Giannelli is now only 1.5 seconds back of Trip Starkey, but Giannelli was slower than Starkey that last time by. So maybe Giannelli's hit his cap, who knows? But beyond that, Ken Nielsen and Chris Pippen, 9th and 10th, also in a good battle for position.
Yeah, they're now coming up towards the back half of the course, approaching that tight hairpin before they leave that long back straightaway. And Pippen has been putting the pressure on that 42 of Ken Nielsen. As they approach the hairpin now, you see him late breaking into that corner, but is able to get a good run off and is able to maybe gain about a car length on Ken Nielsen. He's still separated by about 0.8 of a second, now 9 as they go down the straightaway. We'll see what they can do as they approach this corner, entering into the stadium section of the circuit.
You figure that Pippen will get a little draft off of Nielsen, given how long the straightaway is. And then the question becomes, what does Pippen manage to pull off in the stadium section of the course once they get down on the brakes and into this very, very strange section, because the track is so wide and there's so many different ways you can apex through this particular part of the track. It makes it so unique compared to a lot of the other sections we see throughout all of PCA sim racing. You can run it tight like Pippen did and have a wide exit. You can open up your entry a little bit like Nielsen did and tighten it up on exit. There are a lot of different ways you can run that corner, and sometimes it just depends on where the car you're racing might be that determines how you run that section of the racetrack.
It's all about the placement of your car on the circuit to see where you can gain the most time. You may think one section of the corner may be a faster way, but the next driver may find a different part of that corner a little bit faster for him. So it's all about driver input and driver preference for the circuit, because there's so many different grooves that you could take here at Circuit of the Americas.
Many different ways to get around this racetrack. Oh, by the way, Brian Giannelli is beginning to reel in Chris Zaborowski, even though Zaborowski has stretched it on Trip Starkey. Giannelli's about to run both of them down, because Giannelli was a full 2 seconds faster than the 20 car that last time by. So we'll go up to P5 and keep an eye. You ride on board with Trip Starkey now, coming down the hill towards the hairpin at turn 11. One of the better passing opportunities at Circuit of the Americas. And Giannelli is going to refrain from making the move here, but I think he's going to try and set this up to make it happen either down the straightaway or in turn 12 to open up the stadium section of the course with P5 in hand.
He's got a good little bit of a run down the back straightaway now as they approach turn number 12. He's not close enough yet. Has he peeked to the inside? No, he's going to stay in line just this time around. As they hit the braking zone, you will see Trip Starkey holding a good line into the corner of turn number 12. Giannelli, though, looks to the inside. Can't quite make it work as they approach turn 13 to enter into the stadium section.
Giannelli waiting for his spot. I think he knows he's got the pace on Starkey. The key is just to make sure that he doesn't do anything that earns him a penalty. Make sure you stay off of the 20 machine and shake this out. Different lines through the exit of the stadium section. Nothing yet through this final run. 17, 18, 19, 20 to boot. Starkey gets a little wide in 18, although it looked like that was to some degree by design. Now here comes an early turn from Giannelli. Starkey's going to apex it late. He'll maintain the track position, though, and this may come up to another run up the hill at turn 1. That might be Giannelli's spot, unless Starkey goes wide in the corner, and they will be wheel to wheel. This is for the 5th spot going up into turn 1, and if Giannelli can stay to the inside, it's advantage 17 up the hill.
Drag race up the hill to turn number 1 as we see Giannelli late into the braking. He will now move into the top 5 as Trip Starkey tries the crossover move as they come down the hill out of turn 1 into turn 2, but can't quite make the deal work. He'll have to try again through the S's, but as Starkey gets a good run through here, they're going to go side by side almost through the S's, but Giannelli will then finally take control of 5th position.
Giannelli's got the spot. Oh, by the way, Chris Seborowski has been reeling in Justin Moreno as Giannelli has managed to clear Starkey. So this could get very entertaining. All 4 cars in the picture now. If you get one of the wide shots off the back of Justin Moreno, you see Moreno, Seborowski, and there was a flash of Giannelli and Starkey not too far behind this group. So it's starting to bunch up for 3rd on. You'll get a good shot here in the hairpin of who is up to what. There are Moreno and Seborowski, and then Giannelli and Starkey right there behind this group. So you see how tight this battle has become, and all of a sudden, it could be maybe 3 or 4 cars fighting for P3, Taylor.
It certainly could be 3 or 4 cars fighting for P3 as they go down the back straightaway, approaching turn number 12. One of the hardest braking zones you'll have to face here at Circuit of the Americas. Into the braking zone. Seborowski late into the braking. He may overshoot this corner if he's not careful. He does, as he loses a ton of time that he just had gained on Justin Moreno. He has to do it all over again as they go through turn number 13 and 14.
He will have to gain on Moreno a little bit. Giannelli still about 2 seconds back, but that number is continuing to decrease. It's within the ones now. It's about 1.9 now, so watch your eyes on Giannelli. Seborowski ran one of the fastest laps on the track. He was second to Ian Simon on pace that last time by. Meanwhile, we can confirm that Daniel Rubel will be very close to his final lap. It may be fractions of a second left to go. So
he's actually on his final lap.
Watch very, very closely and see what's happened with Justin Moreno, who all of a sudden is now fighting for the 4th spot. Seborowski got around him, and now the Haggerty cars are lined up in 4th and 5th.
Looking at the replay, I think it was possibly a time penalty where he actually cut one of the corners. He had to give the position away by the looks of it over to Chris Seborowski. Yeah, he slowed down quite a bit, so he had to give some time up for cutting one of the corners.
Not sure which corner he cut, but in either case, Seborowski to 3rd. Giannelli now behind his Team Haggerty teammate, and Trip Starkey in the mix if these two begin to tangle. So we'll keep our eyes on that battle, and also watch Daniel Rubel, who has a minute to come down the long straightaway through the stadium section, around the turn 8 replica, and through the final 2 corners of the course to potentially wrap up this race this lap.
He now enters into turn number 12. Ian Simon, though, is trying everything that he can to gain up. It's about 1.6 seconds between the 2 drivers as they are in the stadium section. Hitting turn number 13, they will go 37 seconds left on the clock.
It will be close for Rubel and for Simon. This is Reason Toter versus Mardi Gras. Philadelphia versus New Orleans for the race win in the challenge class in round 5 of Series 5 of Porsche Club of America Sim Racing. And Rubel still with the lead by about 1.3 seconds over the 87 car. Watching the clock, 10 seconds left to go. So this probably is going to be it. It is indeed. Rubel will come around turn 20 for the final time. And the first winner of round 5 in the challenge class, presented by Haggerty and PCA Sim Racing Series 5, is Daniel Rubel.
What a race to the finish. But meanwhile, we got to go back and keep an eye on that battle for fourth position. It is not over yet. Chris Zaborowski has pulled away from Justin Moreno for third position, but we still got a tight battle for fourth position as they are approaching the final few corners right now. Moreno over Gidanelli and Trip Starkey. Now, this is the battle for P4. They're in turn 19 right now. Starkey overshoots the corner, but it looks like the two Haggerty drivers, they're going to come home fourth and fifth.
Team Haggerty with a solid top 5 pairing there as they round their way out of the final corner, and it will be Moreno, then Gidanelli, then Starkey in that order. Not too many other battles to talk about, and Ken Nielsen and Aaron Ambrosino are pretty tight together, as are John Crook and Jason Sherwood in 15th and 16th. That might be another good one to keep our eyes on as they enter the stadium section.
Going to be a close battle as John Crook goes a little bit wide entering the stadium section of the course. Turn 13, Jason Sherwood can't quite get to the back bumper just yet. They have a little bit of lap traffic in front of them right now, but as they're going through the circuit into the infield section of the course, we see they give way. Lap traffic stays out of this way for battle of position for 15th.
John Crook with a very solid car through those corners. A little bit of damage to the number 61, but not so much that he can't make his way through 17 and 18. So only 19 and 20 to go for that 61 car. 19 he navigates with ease. All he has to do is get on the brakes and make sure that he snakes through 20 with ease, which he will do. Down the corner, solid apex. He'll come out of the corner, bring home the 14th position, Taylor Burris, and that is just about that with race one. A few cars left to finish up here, but for the most part, it's all Daniel Rubel at the end of the day. He's got it parked over up by turn 1, celebrating at the top of the hill.
A great way to take home the checkered flag here at Circuit of the Americas. When you win at this track, you show that you have the talent and skill to race just about anywhere. This track has provided difficulties for some of these drivers here tonight, and some have been able to answer the call to take home the checkered flag or come out on top of near the podium finish here tonight. So one driver such as that, Brian Gidanelli, has to be one of those drivers tonight after having that early lap 1 incident.
We'll take a look at the full field rundown and tell you where your favorite driver finished. Daniel Rubel, your winner over Ian Simon. It's Rubel's first win of this challenge class in Series 5. Chris Zaborowski with a solid recovery run to get back to third. Justin Moreno in fourth. And Brian Gidanelli was down in 17th at the beginning of this race. Fifth when it all finishes. Fourth and fifth for Team Haggerty in the process in the class, presented by Haggerty, by the way. So nice run for Haggerty Insurance all around in this class. Trip Starkey was sixth this evening. Seventh went to Robert Rose. David Trinder brought his 103 car home in eighth. Ninth belonged to the 19 of Chris Pippen. And completing the top 10 was the 42 car that belongs to Ken Nielsen.
Coming home in 11th will be Aaron Ambrosino, followed by Scott McSherry in 12th position. Ken Tubman will come home in 13th, followed by Abraham Jones in the 14th position. John Croak will come home in 15th, followed by Jason Sherwood in 16th. 17th will go to the 71 of Robert Benson, followed by Alan Kirby in the 18th position. Anchor Bergson will come home in the 19th position, while Scott Ferris will be the first car one lap down. He will finish 20th.
21st this evening was Jose Rivas. Mark Granoff was 22nd. 23rd belonged to the triple line of Olin Murphy, and Richard Day was 24th. 25th belonged to Andrew McCune. Andrew Hillman finished 26th this evening. And 27th, the final car in this field, was the 18 of John Bradley. We now bring in our race winner, Daniel Rubel, out of the Riesentota region. First victory for the Riesentota region in quite some time. I think potentially maybe outright in PCA sim racing. But Dan, this is a track that is notorious for giving drivers fits, especially when you consider how much the curves throw on people. And you made it look almost effortless pretty much all night long. So did you figure out something in practice that just made this place click with you in a way that it might not necessarily with most people?
Yeah, I think it's an easy track to try to overdrive. You know, slow in, fast out, as the old adage goes, is really key here. I mean, these long straightaways, if you don't get a good start, you're going to lose tremendous time every time you try to pull out of a turn with too much throttle. So that was really my focus, trying to be patient. I think I did pretty well for the first half of the race, but did get a little bit loose toward the end, and I saw Ian catching up quick. So tried to hold on and keep my patience, but it's a track that tests you.
Victory for the Reason Total Region 2. I am flipping through the memory banks. I genuinely think this might be the first ever win for any Reason Total Region member in PCA sim racing. So to be first on that list, what's that mean to you?
Yeah, it's a real privilege. I mean, there's some great drivers in the club. Reason Toter has a long tradition of racing and DE events and autocross, and we. I don't know what the stats are. I know we have some great drivers who did well in the prior series. I think Kevin Douglas may have won challenge in the summer series, and Brent Rosen, I think, did phenomenally a couple years or last year. Jared Roadheaver, Jeff Smith, a lot of really great drivers. I can't speak to what historic results were, but just to be in the presence of those guys and learning from them is a real privilege.
Now, there are plenty of people that you need to thank. So who do you need to send the thank yous out tonight for making the victory possible?
I'm going to thank my wife. I've got my sim racing rig set up here in the bedroom, and let me tell you what, it takes a lot of patience and tolerance to support a hobby like this. And so family's really supportive and allows me to put in the time, and it's really, really critical, particularly on a track like this.
The payoff comes in a win tonight, an interview here on the broadcast, and from all of us at Podium Esports and the Porsche Club of America, congratulations, Daniel, on your victory tonight in the challenge class. We look forward to seeing you next week at Watkins Glen, which I guess by default is going to be a home race for you all in this season as well.
Yeah, great track, great challenge. Looking forward to it. Thanks, everybody.
Daniel Rubel, your first winner of the evening. He takes home the challenge class race in round 5 of Series 5 for PCA Sim Racing. And once again, tonight's challenge class race presented by Haggerty. Let's drive together. At this point, it is time, if you're on YouTube, to slide down, get out a full screen view, drop down to the bottom left, just underneath your window, click that blue PCA Sim Racing button. Hop on over there. Go click that sport class race presented by Leland West. That's where we're going to be headed next. For the rest of you, hang tight right where you are, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a few moments with more coverage of PCA Sim Racing here from Podium Esports. Second race of the night from Circuit of the Americas coming up after the break.